Now let's count the number of times that our timer has timed out. So I'm going to take T0 again, this time with a normally open contact, T0, and I'm going to add a counter. So CNT is counter. It's going to be counter number 0, that's the name of the counter, and we'll let it count to 5. The second rung is the reset for the counter, because if you didn't have a reset, the counter would just keep counting. It has to know when to reset back to 0. So I'm going to reset it. I'm going to reset the counter when we turn our switch, input number 1, off. So I'm going to again use the normally closed contact, X0, X1, sorry, so that when we turn our switch off, it'll reset that counter. And then when we've counted to 5, let's go ahead and turn on our amber light. So I put in another normally open contact, label it CT0, that's the name of this counter here, and just turn on Y0. I'm sorry, Y1 is our amber light. So if we accept this program, write it to disk, write it to the PLC, and now let's test it and see what happens. So I'm going to turn my switch on. The green light comes on. The timer's timing. Each time it times to 5 seconds, it starts the counter. It increments the counter. So we've got 2, 3. When it gets to 5, I'm hoping the amber light will come on. There it is. So it got to 5. Our amber light came on over here on the screen. This line is made. So now the timer, you'll notice, just keeps timing. It keeps going around and around and around, and the counter keeps counting. That doesn't hurt anything because we've already made our logic. So now if I turn that switch off, everything resets. So we'll add one more thing to the program. We'll stop that timer from timing after the counter counts out. So again, I go with a normally closed contact because we want to stop this when this action happens, and call that CT0. I'm going to accept the program, write it to disk, write it to the PLC, and then we'll test it out. So everything's starting to time out again. The green light is on. You also see the indicator lights on the PLC are on. So I'm hoping when we get to a count of 5 that the counter is counted out and the timer will stop timing. So there it is. The green light's on, the amber light's on, the timer stopped timing, the counter stopped counting, and we can reset it by turning the switch off. Let's do a little program cleanup now. I'm going to highlight X1, and then I'm going to hold down my control key and hit the D like dog. And this allows me to label the items of the program with English. So let's call X1. I'm going to give it a nickname of switch. If I go back to ladder view, I can see that it's now says switch. I'm going to do Control D again, and I'm going to call this one green light. We'll call the timer green light timer. I'm going to do it with a Control D. We'll call it GL timer. Then we'll call this the green light counter. So Control D again. Back to ladder view. And then this is the amber light. So now our program is a little bit easier to read, especially if you get into a real big program. You have 1,000 lines with hundreds of inputs and outputs. Yeah, you have to get them labeled so you know what they are. The other thing this does for us is by using the nickname, I can actually use the nickname instead of X1 or Y0. So I'll show you how we do that. So let's say I was just putting in another normally open contact, F2. I have to be in edit mode, F2. If I type switch, it automatically gives it the X1. So that's why it's called the nickname. So we've completed our first program. Let's go ahead and close out DirectSoft 5. And then let's open it back up. Come down here to our link. It takes a few moments to connect to the PLC. And what I'm going to show you is what happens if you open it now from the link instead of opening the program from the project file. You just have to let this open. So here's our PLC, and there's our programming. But you may have noticed that the English descriptions have disappeared. The program is working fine. If I go to, I'm in program mode right now. To change to run mode, I come up here, select run, monitor the status. And we can see the program's working fine, but it's missing all the English descriptions. And that's because those descriptions are not stored on the PLC itself. So when I opened this program up by using the COM link by itself, it's just read the program right off the PLC, which contains none of the English descriptions. So let's close it back out. And then this time, let's open it from the project file, which we called vid training project. And now I've got all my English descriptions. So after you've added nicknames and descriptions in your program, you need to open that program from the project file, not from the COM link. The project file is automatically associated with the COM link. So you can't erase your COM link, you've got to keep that, but everything will work fine. So we've created our first program and looked at some of the information here on the menu. So you know the edit mode, the status, and how to change the mode of the PLC. The only other thing I think you might want to be able to do early on is to be able to clear a PLC program, and you do that by going to PLC and clear memory. So that's it for this video series. We hope this helped you get up and running quickly, and we hope to see you back at Brick PLCs for some of our other training courses, like how to use the Ethernet module and send emails.